Now, for today's show, I'm joined live in the studio by someone I've shared many wonderful moments over almost a decade through Movember, White Owl for Men's Health, and more recently in the growing space of workplace wellbeing and diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging. Jeremy MacVean's story is one I admire deeply. He's come from a big-name marketing career to carving out his own space in purpose-driven work championing fatherhood, wellbeing and gender equity. As co-founder of the Fatherhood, Jeremy brings not just professional expertise but lived experience, charm and heart to every conversation about what dads need and why supporting them benefits everybody. We're going to explore fatherhood, midlife do-overs, social connection, and the magic that happens when we make space for real human conversations. It is so great to see your face and hear your voice back on the show here today, Jeremy.
Thanks, Rae. It's nice to be here. Thanks for the lovely opening and introduction.
It was really beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, the way, but also the way you talk about your interests and what this show's about. I'm in. Let's go. It's all the good stuff.
Men's health. Who would have thought? It's really funny, as we were just yakking before the show, and we were reflecting back on when we first met, and I asked you something that's sort of been burning my brain when I'm writing the show about if I go back to the start, you know, even sort of 14, 15, 16 years ago when I was all about men's rights and men need more rights, and where we are today, that it's just an everybody's issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Is kind of really refreshing and slightly embarrassing.
Well, I think we've been through that together, you and I, because we've worked for a long period of time, known each other and kind of grown individually. And I think the world around us has shifted as well, where for whatever reason, I'm really lit up about the idea of men's health. I've got brothers, I went to a boys' school, and I just see so much opportunity to support and help and make improvements in terms of men's physical and, importantly, mental well-being. But I guess through that pathway and doing that work with Movember over such a long period of time and having lots of these conversations, I guess a couple of things have come to light to me. One is this ripple effect, and if we have healthier men, it leads to a healthier world. So for me, if I'm, the personal perspective from me, if I'm going well, that's going to benefit my 3 daughters. There you go, straight away. So my men's health for Jeremy is actually the people that benefit from that and my daughters. And then from a society perspective, sort of ripple that out further. In like the workplace setting where I'm talking about hands-on fathers, the benefit of getting dads involved, of course it's better for them because it's such a meaningful part of life and it's better for their children, but there's all sorts of ripple effects through the workplace, and the more I've worked in it, the more coming together to work on these things has become something I've become so passionate about, because I see it's so important that we're doing that. Yeah.
Speaking about you being healthy for your daughters, how healthy were you feeling after taking one of your daughters trampolining the other day?
Already. As I hobble up the stairs in the moon boot.
With your fractured ankle.
Yeah, just being reminded of my age and my limitations. I was trying to be a hands-on involved dad and paid the price. But I'd pay that price again. I wouldn't have it any other way. So my girls were saying during the week, should we, you get those grippy socks when you go to the trampoline park. Should we throw your socks out? I'm like, nah, I'll be back. Right. I might have a slightly more measured approach when I go back next time, because I got this lovely moon boot on for a period of time. Yeah. But I wear it proudly.
What I'd really love to challenge you on straight away, because I like to go straight in. For it. The term hands-on dad, hands-on father. Yeah. What does that actually mean in today's context of equality, that we don't call mothers hands-on mothers, they're just mothers? Why prefix it?
Yeah, it's true. So I guess it's something that we talked about to try and have a plain language approach with the Fatherhood, which we created about 6 years ago with me and 2 other guys, to talk about this rise of involved fathers. So the stat that I talk about a lot is dads in this generation spend 3 times as many hours with their children as just one generation ago. And so it's interesting you raise that, Rae, because we've been talking about hands-on dads. Just to talk about that, dads are getting more involved in domestic chores and carrying the domestic load more and spending more time with their children. But I've used that term recently in the last couple of months and looked at it myself with fresh eyes and gone, hang on a minute, what do we mean by that? And does that carry, like kind of what you're asking, does that carry this kind of connotation of celebrating dads that are like a lot of mothers will say to me, they're just doing their job, because there's often like that, oh, you're babysitting or you're looking after kids. No, I'm being a father. Like, I'm just doing. So we'll get to this point, I hope, where there's just, we don't need to say hands-on dads to talk about that. The reason with the fatherhood we have used that term is to really highlight that dads are more involved. But fast forward to a future where we don't even need to talk about that. That's just the expectation, this kind of genuine equity. But we're not there. We're not there. When you look at the statistics, we are not there in terms of sharing the domestic load equally. So there's still work to do to say, yeah, so that's why I use that term. But
or we're not seeing it as well. I mean, I'm sure you know the divine Michael Rae, who...
Yeah, love him.
We all love Michael Rae. He's been on the show. But Michael would probably contest that as well, given that he has been, he's been a sole parent of his daughter from the get-go.
Yeah.
So, he's had no choice but be hands on everything.
For sure.
And there are many, many versions of Michael Rae who also sit in relationships, in heterosexual relationships, where men carry the major burden of child rearing. And I know a lot of those men as well. So I guess, coming from that perspective, are we only shining a light on one version of fathers?
Yeah, and I guess that's a really good point. And there's so much change happening, and even then we're talking gendered, because it's sort of simple. So when I talk in workplaces, I'll talk to genders, mothers, fathers, traditional gender roles. But again, there's so much change happening there where...
Can we say gender anymore? Do we just refer to sex? It's
exactly. So then the people are trying to bring people on that journey, including myself. So I'll talk to my daughters, this next generation coming through, see gender and sex is totally different, and we've got work to do there as a society to make sense of it. So I'm really happy to open up that conversation and go, what does that mean? And how do we talk to me about the pronoun thing? And let's really try and understand that, because again, there's so much change happening to enable people to show up how they want to show up in whatever role, whether it's as a parent or whatever it is. And again, we've got to work together to work our way through that, because it's confusing at times. And so, well, how do you want to show up? And do you want to identify as a man, woman, or anything, and enable that and make it safe for people to do it? So yeah, there's a lot of change happening, and we need to work together and hold each other's hand and work our way through it. And I put my hand up straight away and say, I'm a work in progress. I'm not an academic. I'm not an expert. We're in this for conversations like we're having today to unpack this stuff and sit in it and go, what do you mean by hands-on, Dad, Jeremy? What do you, like, and that kind of thing. Go, okay, well, should we even be talking about that? Well, should we be just talking about parents showing up as they want to, regardless of gender? That's what we're all working towards, I think, is a world where we don't sort of talk about that stuff. And we're saying parents show up as they want to. I'll quickly continue. The conversation I've had in my time with the fatherhood, which lit me up the most, was a conversation I had with a gay dad, a guy called Ashley, who was heading up at the time Rainbow Families, an organisation that supports same-sex parents. And talking to Ashley about how he and his father parent their two daughters was almost like the moment I saw the future, because they turn up in their relationship without gender bias. It's fascinating. They turn up and say, well, how do you want to parent, and what roles do you want to play domestically, or do you want to be working, and how do you want to do it? And for me, that was a real light bulb moment, because that's what we're working to. We're kind of genders out of the conversation, and we can each show up as we want to.
Imagine couples having conversations way before they even get married around, there's this joke, who puts the bins out?
Yeah.
Do you put the bins out? No. Who cleans the toilet? All of those things that, as you said, work out, playing to our strengths. And sometimes, people, if we're talking just about people enjoy changing nappies more than other people. People can tolerate screaming babies more than other people. And I think what you just said before about being confused, I think it's absolutely okay to be confused. Yeah. And it's as long as we're confused in a way that we're curious and exploring and asking and having conversations with others, and not shutting down conversations, like I've heard before, especially around things in workplaces like people transitioning. Those conversations will get shut down typically in the past about, I don't believe in that, that is stupid, that is just wrong, as opposed to now when I think we're reaching, I work with a couple of workplaces who have a few people transitioning at the moment, and it's so normal. Yeah. It's just in the stride of these people need just a bit of extra support in, in their own emotional journey. But everyone around them seems to be just very supportive and matter of fact, which I love.
Exactly. So I get really excited by that when you think about, in the work that you and I do, there's a lot of work to be done, to support the people and the listeners to this. There's a lot of work to be done to continue down this path. But jeepers, we're making great steps. So it's really exciting. I caught up with a guy that I went to high school with. I'm now almost 51, so as many years ago I was at high school. And this guy he's openly gay, he's got children, but we were just having a lovely, whatever it is, 30 years on conversation for two guys that hadn't seen each other, and just to hear his perspective of going to high school and not being able to talk about his sexuality or talk about that, and he just play under the radar in order to kind of avoid bullying. And we've just moved forward, and that just wouldn't be a thing now. And so in that time we've made, that's one example where I was like, wow, we have moved forward a long way. Like you're saying, people, and then changing gender in a workplace scenario, and we've moved a long way, and we've still got further to go. So it's an interesting kind of tension there. It's exciting, but that fires me up because we're moving forward. It's not like, we're not progressing here. No, we are, and that gives me enthusiasm and excitement to keep moving forward together.
I think that's a real attitude shift, isn't it, that we were talking about before, how in the past it was all about a very fixed, very narrow view of, say, men versus women. I know that, in the past I would have said things like men don't get enough, women get everything, men are missing out, to now saying, wow, men have a lot to learn from women. If we look at the feminist movement, the first wave, men could learn so much for how women advocate for themselves. And I think those approaches that we're sort of looking at now are becoming more proactive and constructive in the way that we can inclusively and collectively and collaboratively make change, not against each other, but for each other.
Yeah. Like the highlight of my working year so far with that question, I did a presentation on International Women's Day. I was like the keynote speaker at Australia Post. They hired a guy. And so I opened the presentation saying, who hired the guy? Like the easy solution for them on International Women's Day, we're going to host an event, we're going to get a speaker in, would be to get an Olympic female athlete, something like that. That is the easy solution. It's the thoughtless version. But they got a guy in to talk about why gender equity in the workplace is so important, and all of our role in making that happen. Yeah. And so that was really exciting. I think it was really symbolic of, again, the progress that's being made around us.
How did it go over?
Really well. And they were fantastic because the people that set it up, it was courageous of them to do that. And they said there was a few raised eyebrows, when the emails goes out and there's this guy, Jeremy, talking at International Women's Day. But hang on a minute, surely men have had the microphone enough over there was that kind of commentary. Surely it's not their day today. But to the fact that they said, no, we want to, it's all, and I addressed it straight right at the top of the presentation, and it went really well because, again, it's working together, coming together to talk about these issues. And women's equity is not a women's issue, it's an us issue. We've all got a role in it, and men's health. To the work that you do, Rae, sitting here, the men's health isn't a men's issue, it's an us issue. And often those voices that aren't in the spotlight. So your voice, Rae, I think is so powerful in this when we're talking about men's health, because you're saying actually it impacts us all, and here's what I think it's a really powerful perspective that can.
Yeah, I had one of those moments the other day. I presented to 300 unionised construction guys at 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 degrees. The microphone had broken, so I just had to project. But there was a murmur when they saw me. It was, what is she doing here to talk to us? It was during Men's Health Week. And I'm just very inspired by that because they go, you watch, you listen, you'll get it. Because I'm certainly not an expert in anything. And I love being a scholar of men's health. Every day I'm learning something through people. And in fact, I was going to mention, which is probably a good time, just yesterday I saw the report come out. It was just released and led by Michael Wilson with a few from the Movember Brigade, Zach Zeidler, Simon Rice and John Olive, and many others as well. It's called Suicidality in Men Following Relationship Breakdown. And what really struck me is that in this report, it illuminates that separated men, especially young dads under 35, face nearly double the suicide risk compared to divorced men, and how the loss of custody or disrupted access with kids can impact even harder around shame, isolation, grief, loss, and that masculine failure. And I know you haven't seen it because it is literally fresh off the press, but I'm looking forward to having a bit of a deep dive into that so we can talk about more things around, I think it's the first thing I've seen that is, it gives a really practical voice to male suicide prevention rather than it's just a mental health problem, because I think we know in our space that most male suicide is relationship breakdown, financial distress and custody of kids issues.
Yeah.
Which can end in a mental health problem. It certainly doesn't start with one, though.
No, that's so helpful, and because then it's such a broad challenge when there's key moments in someone's life where the risk factors go up, then we can do something about that, and we focus, how do we support that moment? What's going on in that moment? And again, like you mentioned at the top, I'm a lived experience person. I'm a scholar like you, and I've been through a marriage breakdown, and so I hear that and it rings true. So I'd like to experience things. I mean, obviously not that, so you'd avoid if you can, but that makes sense. That was definitely that experience in my life was the hardest thing I've ever been through. Yeah. And so I relate to that. There's a lot going on in the lives of those men. The foundations, in my experience, the foundations of your life get blown up. Yeah. And I'm one of the fortunate men that get to see my kids for half the time.
Yes.
And given the fact I talk about this openly, I have a lot of men come to me that aren't in that scenario, and they are heartbroken and lost. And I have my heart goes out to anyone that is listening to this that's in that scenario. Hang in there, and it's hard, and we see you. And when kids, I know from the work that we do, right, like being parents means so much of someone's identity and meaning, and for that to be taken away is really, really difficult. So having had those conversations, that data that you're referring to intuitively makes a lot of sense.
And thank goodness in terms of policy making, we need these kinds of research pieces, because I think they interviewed something like 1 million men from across the world. It's all collected data from across the world. So it's a really, really good snapshot of what it can look like culturally and geographically too.
Yeah.
But there was, in the next segment, I won't give it away too much, but we're going to take a deep dive into your personal experience in the next segment. Mm-hmm. But on that, something that really came to light for me, I was presenting at the International Men's Conference in Borneo. It was a couple of years ago. It was a really big deal for me. It was like, oh my gosh,
that's cool.
Finally hit the international stage. But I met an amazing man, Dr. Robin Hadley. He's from Manchester in the UK, and he was also speaking. He was the next speaker after me, and his stick is involuntary male childlessness. And sorry, I'm getting emotional just even talking about it, because it is such a thing I'd never even considered that impacts so many men, whether it's through men who haven't partnered, men, in relationships that they just can't conceive, men who've, had children that have been miscarried, a whole range of men who live in this really silent pain and grief of never having been able to fulfill their dream of becoming a father. Do you come across that? It
rings true when you're talking about it. It doesn't come across my inboxes or my phone as often as other things do. The one that, I guess because of the work that I do in my own experience, the one that is coming to me really frequently is relationship breakdown. So men that are separated from their children and really sad and really afraid about where they're going to end up. So they're the conversations I'm having most frequently.
In this piece, though, in this space that is very, very untapped, and you look at workplace and diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging, how do you think those men sit in terms of, other men who are reproducing and building families and maybe having access to things like paternity leave and stuff like that, where it's very similar for women as well, that women who aren't able to have families, that, the expectation is that they will do more discretionary hours, they will, put in more effort because they don't have to go home to kids. Is that something that you ever come across?
It's interesting. It's really, because there is what I come across a lot is the expectation, the kind of traditional expectations that men won't be disrupted in their role as fathers. And I guess what I'm understanding correctly, if you take that the next step, if they're not fathers, well, they're going to be 100% employees. They're going to be completely...
That's right, but they sit in silent pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, what are we doing about that?
Yeah, so it's a really important that data's out there and these things are being talked about because, the expectation is, they'll be a fantastic employee, and from a company's perspective, they're like a 10 out of 10 kind of thing because they're not going to be picking up their kids early or whatever it will be. So that they'd be overlooked in that scenario when it comes to provision of flexible work. But it comes up a lot for me in terms of like that gender equity in the workplace where dads are direct. There's that moment, kids, the childcare is called up and the kid's sick, and I've experienced this personally, and I hear about it all the time. And the expectation is the mum's she's going to get it. And so imagine if you don't have any children, your expectations, you can do the 8 a.m. meeting, you can work late tonight because you don't have to worry about the other stuff. Yeah.
And I think these things really get reinforced too through, stereotypes. Like if you look at, how many males participate in, say, childcare, health system. I mean, there's no man that's going to be allowed back in childcare at the moment, but the health setting, education, higher education. So you've got girls who are being role modelled from a very early age that females take care of children, females teach children, females are more involved in the healthcare of children, as nurses and things like that. And, maternal healthcare, it's never paternal healthcare, it's always maternal.
Yeah.
So then these girls grow up with an idea that that's what girls do, and that and boys grow up with the idea that's what boys don't do. So I don't think it's a decision that men make that they're not taking care of children. The expectation is that men will, pick up the major burden of supporting families, and women will, and whether that's a biological thing as well, which I think it is to a degree. How do we get across that and stop reinforcing these stereotypes?
Yeah, it's doing exactly what you're doing, right? And it's talking about it. It's saying that they're there.
I thought I'd done something wrong for a moment there. It was like exactly what you're doing.
No, it's the opposite. It's having these, so it's surfacing them because, again, we are moving at light speed. The amount of change in terms of gender norms that's going on around us is like unprecedented. And so that's really, really exciting. But then we need to unpack that and go, what does that mean? And talk about the systems and the cultures of the individual. So what you talked about, there's individual experiences we have, and then there's the expectations that have in one generation have shifted hugely in terms of that cultural expectation. And then the third sort of in these systems, we've got to attack them and piece by piece pull them apart. So I'll give you a couple of examples, Rae, that are personal to me. In a systems perspective, primary schools and high schools, like you talk to the primary school specifically, they still have like a primary carer as the contact list. So lots of dads I talk to go, there is no way the school calls me. They'll call the mum, they'll call the nanny, they'll call grandma before they pick up the phone and call me. There's this expectation from the system that dads won't be coming to pick the kid up or want to know they graze in there at lunchtime. So then, and I coach my daughter's netball team, which I love doing. It's awesome to try and step into this. And my daughter's looked over my shoulder at one point and said, why on the netball contact list are you the only guy? Because there's only space for one. And again, generally, the domestic load is carried by women, generally, is what the statistics show. So generally, the mum's going to sign the kid up for netball. So then generally, they get added to the WhatsApp team and they're in the conversation. So there's we need to have two, if there's two parents, and to enable both parents to carry that load evenly. So there's these systems that one by one we need to pick them apart, and then so then the Netball Association needs to build the software that has both parents on there, which has both parents carrying the load and in the conversation for that netball season. And bit by bit in these conversations, we're going to highlight them and unpick them for the benefit of everyone. And that's and one more thing I'll say on that, in terms of the complexity and why this is tricky. Because of you referred to the childcare scenario, like I feel this, I'll give you a personal reflection. I'm coaching 10 girls in a netball team. If one of them falls over and hurts their knee, because of this feeling about men and what the things that men can do, I'm really hesitant to give them a hug and say, "You okay?" and comfort them. I want to be clocking parents around going, "Are we all good?" That I emotionally support your kid in this. And it breaks my heart for them that they're not being role modelled, that this kind man can look after me in that way. And so that's something, again, we need to be talking about. There's terrible things that are happening in childcare scenarios, and I can understand parents being parents and carers being very concerned about men at times. There is that ripple effect of that then it's not being role modelled in the way that it could be for children to feel safe. So again, how do we work our way through that so that we're trying to show our next generation that mothers, gender norms can provide financially and be CEO, and dads can coach the netball team and give someone a hug when they've grazed their knee and support them emotionally through that moment.
I think that picture you've just described, though, is not far away. As you said, it's picking every system apart one by one, but more so even just having permission to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's, we'll sit back and go, "Oh, I don't want to touch that." Like if I go back to the early days of, presenting and, no, it's not appropriate for a female to be presenting on men's health topics. Now that just doesn't exist anymore. I honestly, in my whole career in men's health, I don't think I've ever come across anything that's been discriminatory, unkind. I mean, there has been a couple of things, but not really relating to, I would never go into the space going, "I'm a female in this space. I'm just Rae." And that's how I'm accepted. And I really like that. So I think that sometimes we can be almost apologetic about when we move into a space too. And we can create some friction or barriers to communication when we go in with an apology. "Sorry, it's only me. I am a female in this space." And conversely, you in netball, you're a person who's doing hopefully good netball coaching. Good luck with your practice. But again, Michael Rae speaks very eloquently to all of this stuff in overcoming barriers and giving examples of where we can be doing systems better to make them more equitable and fair to accommodate all of our, as you mentioned before, rainbow families.
Yeah, and I see Michael's work, and he posts like little systematic things like change tables. There's male toilets, female toilets, those symbols, and then the change that often, very, very commonly, if you look for it, and there's change happening in this space. The symbol of the person changing the child will have a dress on, like symbolically, and that's shifting. You see more modern bathrooms, and allowing fathers to be backstage at a ballerina concert or whatever it will be, those type of things. So Michael speaks really passionately, really well about those sort of things because he's experienced them firsthand. And
actually, just made me think, because I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and my 16-year-old son is with me a lot of the time when I'm with her. And he just bowls straight into the change, but there's nothing there, and I see lots of men in there, so we are making change.
Yeah,
and I didn't even notice that was happening, but it definitely is now that I think about it.
So back when I grew up, when I'd go on, I'm a Hawthorn supporter. My dad would go and take me to the room. Sorry, but I'd go in there. There were no girls allowed in the change rooms. It was very gendered, and it was a boys' club. And now go through just again one generation on, and the change rooms are, are structured in a way that there's not people walking around naked through the change rooms. There's space for them to get changed. But so if my daughter's playing AFL footy, how unreal is that they have this opportunity?
Oh my gosh,
it's the best, isn't it? I love it. And so the girls are in there, and we're all just in there together. And there's not this kind of, no, this is not a male space for her, and there's not, no, this is not a female space for. When we're working out how we can be in those spaces together.
Yeah.
And Jeepers, the world's a better place. The feminine energy that they bring to football has changed the culture. It's just it's making the whole sport better. That's so great.
Bringing families together.
Yeah.
A whole day. I've got clients where, son goes and plays football, daughter's playing football, they're at the same venue, and it's a whole day of community and caring. It's just, I love it.
Yeah, I get really lit up. As you say that, I get these tingles because it's just all good. It's just so good. I get so passionate about it.
And it's just such crap that I know, phones and technology and screens have become an issue. But there is so much good going on at the same time. On Friday night, my daughter took myself and my son to this candlelight string quartet for it was Fleetwood Mac at the Collingwood Town Hall. Packed.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it, like, you know, it was always getting sold out. And this is people going out on a freezing cold Friday night to watch people playing strings to Fleetwood Mac.
Awesome.
It was
so cool.
So good.
Can't believe I missed it.
Oh, look it up. I'll send you a link to it. It was really, really cool.
Thanks.
Speaking of music, we've come to that time in the show where we probably should take a break because you really want that water now, don't you?
Yeah, let's get that.
No, I've clumsily coined it the very special guest song request. And I don't think it was around last time you were on the show, which was April 2019.
Wow. Okay.
So more than 6 years ago and a whole pandemic ago.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The world's changed.
Anyway, it's a bit of fun. So here's the rules. So from your selection, I will choose a song. You won't know which one it is, and I'll give you a very cryptically cryptic clue, which is not very good. And you will choose what the song is. Some people are good at this, some people aren't. I don't know if it's got to do with my clues. So this is the first clue. I had to do this for a couple of months before I could book you on the show. So it could have something to do with the title, the artist.
I think that might be a Miles Smith song called I'll Wait For You.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully it's worth the wait.
It's a really cool song, actually. I really enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, I love. Just gone on to Miles Smith. And again, my daughter got me onto it. My new girlfriend, there's a little snippet in there, is a Miles Smith fan. We went and saw him live, and he was amazing. So
that's why you're looking so good. You got some love.
Smile.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, I'm not saying anything for the whole segment. You were just unpacking your whole story.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so
let's get the water.
Yeah. What, the water works or the...
Yeah, but...
the tissue, yeah, the tissues over there.
Okay.
So we're going to play Miles Smith, Wait For You. So you are listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC. And we will be right back after the break. He goes, my mouse isn't working very well today. Welcome back. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC and you're with Rae Bonney, joined in the studio by Jeremy MacVean. He's what you might refer to as a social strategist and champion for dads. What do you think of that?
I'll go with that. Champion. Oh, you got champion in there. I'll take that.
Champ?
Yeah, I'll be a champ. Yeah, I think social strategist. I've not heard that phrase before. Yeah, trying to... I like strategically work through. Yeah, I think I'll get back to you on that one. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'll send you a copy of all their notes and you can just pick out who you are.
When you see my LinkedIn profile calling myself a social champion or a social strategist, then you'll know I've embraced it.
So what does it feel like being you today, Jeremy?
I knew that question was going to come at some stage. I was thinking, Ray, as I was driving in here today, the sun's beautiful day in Melbourne, isn't it? It's lovely. Driving into Box Hill where I was born. I was born in the Box Hill Hospital. So I'm back in my hood. Yeah, I'm feeling hopeful is a word that I'd say. I'm feeling really hopeful at the moment. So yeah, I'd say I'm feeling hopeful, excited. There's good things happening in my life. There's good things happening in the world. And another phrase that came to mind, I was thinking cautiously optimistic. So it's not naively hope, yay, everything's great. It's no, I'm feeling good and the sun's shining and it's a great Sunday. I had an event my mum's 80th birthday last night.
Oh, wow.
My family's all there. We're all alive and well. And so there's really lovely, beautiful things happening in my life. But there's also stuff I'm working through and it's not all rainbows and unicorns. So cautiously optimistic and hopeful, I think.
We're about to find out where some of those peaks and troughs occurred in your life and what does it feel like being you for all that time. Obviously, we've only got probably about you can wrap it on for a good 40 minutes. I reckon.
Yeah. What do you want? How long have you got?
So you were born at Box Hill Hospital. What happened next?
Yeah. I don't know.
Were you a good boy?
I was a good boy. That's what I would say. That's one thing. As a boy growing up, I think if I've learnt something on the way, it's that you don't always have to be a good boy, that life doesn't have to be perfect. And I think I will get to it in my life story, going through the marriage breakdown. Early on, I was working with a therapist, and I could tell that he was really on me about shame, and I was just like, this stuff doesn't happen to me. And it was like, no, it's okay. Like, life's messy and things don't always work out. So if I could go back to the boy I'm about to talk to you about, the kind of young Jeremy, I'd love to say to him, like, you don't have to be a good boy. You don't have to be perfect. Life is messy, and that's what makes it beautiful. And in many ways, the kind of experiences that shape us, the scars that we've got, add colour and flavour and authenticity and beauty to our lives. So that's so I was a good boy, and maybe too good back.
Were you raised around this area?
I was a Bayswater North boy out in Baysy. Had an amazing, like, I look back really, really fondly on my childhood. So like primary school, secondary school, had a really great secondary school I went to. My parents worked hard to get myself and my two older brothers to this great school, and just really, that was a very happy stage of my life. I was comfortable in my own skin, had really good friendships, beautiful warm home that I grew up in, supportive family. So I do look back at that, and I know kind of maybe with a certain glasses on, but that was a very happy stage. There were things going on. Everyone's got challenges every day, but that was a very happy stage of my life.
It sounds very balanced in that you had enough of everything.
Yeah, I did. I had everything I could need, and I was enjoying playing sport, and very, very happy stage of my life. Great friendships, family going well.
So if you could compare that growing up to, say, how a boy might be growing up today in a household where perhaps relationship has broken down, parents have separated, and there's a lot of narrative around boys and screens and online stuff. How would you compare your experience being?
So my experience, it's interesting. It's a good question. Right, it's sort of layered. So at a surface level, my experience was perfect. It was warm and loving. And in some ways that sort of put me on a path to thinking that's what success looks like. I've always wanted to provide that for my children. Now I've got 3 children of my own, and how do I provide that warm home environment and that stability and that? And so going through the marriage split, that was something I had to wrap my head around, is love and care for my girls does not mean having one home. Like, that was my experience, and my kids are now moving between 2 homes, and that's okay. They've got 2 loving homes. They're lucky they've got 2 parents that love them and care for them, and they get to spend time with. And so in some ways I had to, as much as to contrast, like you're saying, there's people out there living with children being raised in much more difficult environments. That's difficult environments, but different environments isn't bad. So for me to say, look, my kids are moving between 2 homes, that's okay. So that's been part of the journey for me, is what that great experience I had isn't the only experience that's a really good one.
Yeah.
And again, like we were talking earlier, whatever the model might be, whether it's same-sex parents or individual parents or whatever your family scenario is, I think we're opening up to the idea of it's complex, and families, like combined families, it's complex and people make it work. It's kind of the underpinning care and love and support, and the emotional wealth support. They're the things that matter the most. And I had that, and that matters more than whether you've got a pool or a trampoline in the backyard or the kind of social structures that's on the surface.
But if you're very aware and articulate about, how you feel about that time now, can you go backwards, and when do you think you became aware of your feelings and emotions, and that your well-being was something? Yeah,
again, you ask good questions. So that's one thing where I think it fuels my passion for this space. I was not thinking about emotions at all. I could not, and I love it when I go. I've seen in primary schools with my kids where we're teaching children to label emotion. How do you feel, and what is that feeling, and what does it mean, and where's it coming from? So I was brought up in a world where that was not a thing. We were not talking about it in a social school environment, in a family environment. We went with my friends. I've got my best friends to this day and my friends from high school. We are close, but in a different way now than we were then. Then we were not emotionally close. We weren't talking about, we were starting to form relationships, the end of high school and into university kind of years. We're navigating our way through romantic relationships, but I was doing that independently. We weren't unpacking it and going, right, how are you going? And that stuff's hard. They're the conversations that we need to be having as humans, regardless of gender. How are you going emotionally?
What was high school like?
Oh, it was competitive. So, so I look back at year 9 and year 10. I've painted a fairly glossy picture, but I look back at year 9 and year 10. I was in a boys' school at that stage. We just beat each other up and hang crap on each other. Like, that was the version. That was the love language. There was no... You wouldn't cry. All that classic masculine stereotype. No way. It was survive.
Were you aware that was hard?
Not then. That was the world. That was the norm. And I look back at it and think we were finding ourselves and our identity without the ability to express it. And that's why I just love this change that's happening around us, where we see more frequently role models that we, like footballers as an example, will be breaking down from an emotion, crying. Healthy tears about something that's happened in their life, and that's become much more the norm. So I'm a work in progress, and that's been part of my journey, is to be able to get better at understanding my feelings. Like, I'm happy to talk about I'm a bit of an anxious personality.
Always?
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about it at school.
No.
But now I know when I've got those feelings, that's a physiological reaction to something that's going on. How do I sit in that and it'll pass? I wasn't thinking about that when I was 20. I wasn't aware of it.
Did you know what you wanted to be?
No, I still don't know what I want to be.
So you could, as they say, pivot again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm making it up as I go along. No, I wasn't a kid that was like, I'm going to be a fireman, or I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be no, not at all.
So how did you stumble into, because did you go straight into marketing?
Yeah, I started my first job was in an advertising agency. And so what took me there was just following my nose, and my mum supported me through this process of I didn't know what I wanted to do, but there was this combination of business and creativity was what took me to advertising, because I played in bands and I was quite interested in creativity and arts. And
so you're a musician?
Yeah. And so I put those things together, and that landed me in advertising. But what I think I loved about it...
Can I just go back? Because you're just skipping over all these really shiny bits. Like the band scene. Were you in a band?
Yeah, big time.
So what was that scene like in terms of being competitive or being, nurturing? What was it like?
It was exciting. Yeah, I built relationships there. And it's when you look back, writing a song with someone... there's vulnerability there. You're opening yourself up. There's a really beautiful chemistry when you're... And I was lucky. In high school, the friends that I'm still friends with today are musos. And so we formed bands. Absolutely. I was in bands through high school, bands in my 20s. I wanted to be a rock star, Rae, and I'm still working on it.
But you belonged to a range of things.
Yeah.
And when we look at diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging now, people go, what's this belonging shit? It's that. People will need this sense of belonging, and some of us don't belong anywhere.
Yeah, it's really. I'm glad you said that. It's a really good thing to in these kind of conversations to point out. So I belonged. I was a bit of my self-identity. I was a drummer in a band, then I played guitar in a band, and I played football for that team, and I was part of that community.
Yeah,
and
so in raising boys, belonging is a big part of raising them. If they don't belong to anything, that's where the danger of maybe heading towards other influences will occur. So the medicine or the antidote to that is get them involved. Be interested, be curious about what they're doing, like your parents may have been.
For sure. I had a moment years ago. I was walking with a pram with one of my daughters, and just out sort of getting some fresh air, and I walked past a suburban football game. I remember looking at it after I'd well and truly retired from playing any kind of football, but I played sort of amateurs football after school, and I remember having this sort of reflection as I was walking with a pram, because I saw it from the distance, and there's the game's being played, and there's all the people on the boundary line, and they're all probably going to go and have a social drink after the game. And I just had this moment of, it's not about the football. It's just not. And when I was playing it, obviously you want to win the premiership and you're training, but just to stand back and go, that is about social belonging. That is a collection of people hanging out. And yes, they're playing football, but that is the thing that's bringing them together. That is actually about the team and the club and the social belonging that it brings. So I couldn't agree more. It's really, really important for us with our peers. And that's why I coach my daughter's netball team. It gets me in there too. It gets me into the club. It gets me on the phone yesterday with one of the people at Pres. We're organising the team set up for this year. And I get to hang out with my girls. And so that I belong there. And so much of us, and again, in the work that you and I do, Rae, I see lots of men that are missing that. We kind of...
Well, if they've been involved in just occupation from, say, the age of 15, especially if they're in a trade, their identity is, I'm a plumber, I'm a builder, I'm a whatever.
Yep.
And then by the time they get to a stage where they might need to fend for themselves or go outside of that identity to explore what they do, no idea. And that's where alcohol can be really great. Drugs can be really great. Unhealthy socialising can be great. Unhealthy relationships can be great because there is no knowledge. So again, I can't reinforce this enough. How we're raising boys is still really shit.
Yeah, so that identity, I couldn't agree more. And again, I speak passionately from it. And I'm going to say again, I'm a lived experience version of this. So when I became a father, and I advocate for fatherhood, I became a dedicated dad.
How did you become a dad? Look, I know how it happens, by the way. Okay. I do know. I've done it 3 times myself from the other direction, I don't know how Rory came along, though. He was like the oops child. Yeah. My oldest is 30, my youngest is 16. Anyway, but, in the lead up to becoming a dad, you're a 20-year-old, you started out in marketing, you're at ad agency. That must have been pretty cool time. What was the time when you go, oh, now I want to settle down?
I think like lots of people, I wanted to be a father, and I got to an age where it made sense.
When did you want to be a father?
I remember when I was quite young, being around young kids. Like when I say young, I'm like early 20s kind of thing, and being around young children, like family members and things like that, and thinking, oh, that's great. Like being a kind of step uncle, I think I was previously to a previous partner, and just hanging out with little kids and knowing that I really enjoy that role and I want to do it. I hadn't consciously gone, I will be a father, but it made a lot of sense and I did want to do it. And I'd had such a great upbringing, like I talked about earlier. I wanted to do that for my other people.
Yeah.
So I think I got to a certain age where I thought, right, let's go. So but there was never a moment where I was like, well, right, we are going to do it. I'd met the person that my wife, we got married, and then we were trying to have children. It wasn't an accident. It's like, right, let's do this.
Yeah.
So it felt like the right time.
Yeah. So it was intentional, and that all worked out as you planned it?
Yeah, we were the lucky. I mean, this is the thing people don't talk about, how hard it can be to become pregnant, and then how people become pregnant without expecting it.
I also knew you during some of this time of having children, and when your children were little, because how old's your youngest?
My youngest is 9 now.
So I probably knew you when she was just born.
Yeah.
And I remember just how, not envious was of you, but you appeared to have this perfect life with perfect children, a perfect wife, and you were happy. You were so happy with life. That's and that was probably true as well.
Yep, there was some truth in that.
Yeah,
some.
Upon reflection, maybe not. Yeah. But you had what was apparently a great job. You were with Movember, and that was where everyone wanted to be. So what was the reality?
So a lot of that is true. Yeah, that is really true. And I got the family home that I tried to replicate, like I talked about earlier from my childhood. I was able to get that for the kids, and my wife and I were raising these kids, and your life kind of gets turned on its head when you have young children. You kind of enter the fog, and you're just trying to make sense of providing for them. And when I say providing, I mean just getting up every day and putting clothes on them and getting them to daycare or whatever it will be. That was a pretty happy time. Well, no, it was a very happy time. Really, like it's funny in terms of where this story goes to. My wedding day was probably the happiest day of my life, followed or in no particular order. And when my children were born, unbelievably happy times in my life, just overwhelmed with joy. So really, there's a lot of happiness in there, and working good roles, and so happy time. But there were things going on. That relationship ended because there were things going on in it that weren't great. And what I was doing is the idea of that relationship. Like, I didn't call the split. The idea of that relationship not working for pride issues and all sorts of stuff, I wasn't willing to. That was not an option.
Yeah.
So I would turn a blind eye to where dynamics in the relationship weren't very healthy, just to keep it together. So how was it? Really joyful, really great. However, there were things going on in that relationship I could now look back and say that they weren't great. I'm not talking about domestic violence or anything, just dynamics within that relationship that I've had to look back on, and that's been part of my journey, is working with specialists, working with therapists that have said, look, mate, I know this has been really hard for you going through that marriage breakdown, and financially it's been really hard, and you see your kids half the time and no one wants that, and it's crap, I get it. However, there were things going on in that relationship that weren't good for you, and you need to front up to that, buddy. And so that's been part of my... At the time, I was head in the sand on it, is what I'm saying, and it's been after the relationship's broken down that I'm able to look back, and I've done some work on that to be able to go, there were really great times and great holidays and lots of joy, but there were things going on there that weren't great for me and for my partner and for my kids, and I've needed to learn that.
I think if we could look more at life as seasons, I mean, we're living so much longer thanks to modern medicine than we ever used to. I mean, still men are falling far behind women, but I had to put that one in. But, we have seasons of life where, perhaps that season of your life was about creating human beings to evolve. And, once that was done, then that season of life was over, and now you're into your next one. And sometimes when we see it like that, you go, oh, that makes sense. That's okay. It's okay. It's not failure. It's just something has come to an end. Yeah.
And that's been a big part for me. I think I'm there 6 years on after the split to be able to hear you say that. Go, yep, not all the way through it. But back 6 years ago after it happened, no, in my mind it was failure.
And so that was an identity thing that, your childhood sort of experience that's come through, and then your vision of what your family was going to look like failed.
Yeah, it was blown up in front of me.
And was that your fault in your mind?
Yep. I'd failed my children.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I thought about it. And just for the record, I'm going to, I don't feel that way now.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was like, it was direct line. I failed my children. Yeah. The most important thing in my life is my role is looking after them. And that's what I needed to get support on. So people going through it, you need to have these conversations with your peers. You need to be talking to specialists if you can get there. But that's been part for me is working through those feelings.
And if you read the report that we mentioned earlier in this show, that really, really points to what you've just described as the trifecta: relationship breakdown, financial distress, and change of structure with your kids.
And it's on. Like, it is like that trifecta is a real thing. And so my experience of it, which I talk about a lot, it's like the pillars of your life get blown up at that point, like really big pillars. Your primary relationship, your financial setup, your home, often for men, a lot of their social connections are with their partner, so you lose their family, you lose, like, whether or not you lose them entirely, but you lose a lot of connection with these really important fundamental parts of your life. So you put that trifecta together that you mentioned, Rae, and there's a lot of people out there that are battling their way through it. And my message to anyone who is going through that now is it gets better. And so
Had you given birth to the fatherhood at this stage?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, the fatherhood was 18 months old.
So did that change your perspective on how you were approaching that?
Yeah, I was the hands-on dad guy that only saw my kids half the time now. So it was a really different, and in a good way. I look back, it was like a more layered perspective on our role as parents than this sort of traditional family setup.
Can I just interrupt you there? And because I had this thought about you this morning, and it was like you're this babushka doll. You know those Russian nesting dolls?
Yeah.
It's like you just got all these layers. You just open one up, and there's another version of Jeremy. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Another one. You've got all these.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's. In that analogy, I think that's what it is. That there was
Put
this
that
version.
On your LinkedIn,
yeah, there's a babushka man. In the head. When the fatherhood was created, there was me and two other guys with heterosexual Luke and Andrew. Yeah. We created it as talking about how involved we were as dads, and we wanted to support other dads through that process. That's where the fatherhood started, telling stories about modern fatherhood. And we were in heterosexual relationships with young kids, like kind of traditional models, and then I became a different version of that. And so then that broadened my, and we were obviously talking to gay dads and academics and all sorts of things to get different perspectives. But yeah, I lived through a different perspective on that.
Yeah.
So things shifted.
What got you through it?
Okay, what got me through it is talking. So I had, I feel so lucky to have had a few things in my court that I just love to give to people going through it. One is a really good friendship network that I could call my friends and family and just talk and say, I've got this feeling, my head's spinning, I don't know the way forward. So I was fortunate to have people on the phone that I could just talk to about how I was feeling that day. That's one thing. I was going to a therapist pre-split and the same therapist post-split, and he was really helpful.
How did you afford that? Because they're very expensive, and going through that financial piece.
It's really hard. So I'm
only asking that because there's so many men who would probably be asking the same question. They can't afford it.
Yeah. So I went to a GP and got on a mental health plan, healthcare plan, which is helpful because it subsidises a bunch of, so definitely. So I went to the GP post-split and was like, load me up. What do I need? I'm good. Yeah. So I'm about to go through something really hard. And that was part of it, right? So we'll get you on a mental health care plan, which you still do have to pay for therapists, but it's cheaper. And my therapist was fantastic. He kept his prices as low as he possibly could to support me through it, knowing exactly what you're saying. You have some financial pressure on here as well, Jeremy. So I want to help you with that. But he really helped me, to refer back to something we talked about a bit earlier. Like I'm not great. Like I grew up in a world where you don't talk about emotions. So he helped me pull apart the emotions that I was feeling at the time. And there's 1,000 of them. And, I was just feeling flat under this cloud of 1 billion emotions. And we'd sit there and kind of go, well, that's sadness, that one you're feeling there, or that's fear, or whatever it might be. And just to kind of pull apart the emotions and kind of just to sit in them. So that was one thing, that having a professional and all sorts of other things, pulling apart, pointing at, you need to own the fact that there were things in that relationship that weren't great. And so for you to move forward, that's a really important part of your acceptance. Yes, the relationship's over, but if you really accepted some things in that you need to move forward. So he helped me with that.
And also at the same time, you still have to parent, don't you?
Oh, yeah, you've got to front up every day.
But in a really different way, that they're going through something too.
Yeah.
This is first for all of you. All, 5 of you to be going through.
So then the most important thing for me, and I'm sure parents listening, is your kids. You want to make sure their wellbeing's fine. So
it's not always the most important thing for people going through
breakdown. Well, I can speak for myself that a lot of people I talk to, it is, and for me it was, and just making sure that they're fine. And there is this balance where, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so you need to look after yourself and take the time because, to care for others, you need to go on aeroplanes, you put your oxygen masks on first because you need to be looking. So there was that part of looking after myself as well. And I also felt lucky to know people like you, Rae, and be in this world of working with Movember. That was fortunate that I was in this space working on and building my own capability through working in the space of talking openly about this stuff. That helped. So had I not be working in that space, I think it would have been even harder.
When did it start feeling better?
It's progressive. There wasn't a day. I kind of needed to mourn for a period of time. It's years. And I had this thing, like one step at a time, one day at a time. Philip said, just look at your diary, work out what you need to do today, get through the day, go again. Like that was just in the early time. So, and it progressively, I think it's a poem called the Waves of Grief, and someone shared it with me, and again I share it with other people now. The waves will always be there. You'll always feel those emotions. It's not like they'll go away when you're grieving whatever it might be in your life. In this case, I was grieving the end of a relationship and what that meant. So they'll be there, but they'll just get smaller. So early on, for people listening to this that are going through something in their life that just feels so overwhelming, that it will pass and the waves get smaller. So just hang on. And that was my experiences over time. There wasn't a day that the sun was shining and I was better. It was like it just took time to just process and work out where I was going to, day by day, tackle the things.
But you couldn't do it alone.
No, absolutely.
I think that's part of some of the challenges of men here in Australia is that they do feel very alone, or they have that stoic attitude of, I will just push through. Nobody needs to carry my burden with me. I'm too ashamed to like the way you were feeling about your relationship breakdown. Some people don't want to share it because it's way too shameful.
Yeah. And so I relate to that. I felt that and needed some support to go, it's okay, mate. It's all right. And so absolutely having people around made an enormous difference, just to hold your hand and walk you through. I sometimes refer to it now as like the daisy chain of divorce, because you're literally holding each other's hand and dragging. So people that have been through it earlier than me going, oh, this is what you now need to do and think about. And I now try to do that for other people and help them through it. And there's practical components of where you're going to live. There's the financial split stuff and all like kid custody arrangements. There's all the practicalities you need to work through, and all the day-by-day emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And so, to get the support to work through that is really, really important. And I just don't know how people do it on their own.
Did you ever feel lonely during that?
Yeah. Yeah, so because you go, like, could I give a stronger yes? I can't. Because again, I'll give you an example, and I hear from this a lot in the people that I talk to. You go from a busy home with noise, and you aren't with your kids, and you're on your own, and so it's quiet. It's very, very quiet. And so, there's heaps of times for people going through this scenario in their life where they'll feel lonely. And that's, again, why I like having these conversations like we're having today, Rae, to just go, it happens and you'll feel it and it's okay. We're all out there feeling lonely. And people are like, there's a friend of mine who's been through a marriage split, and she shares with me things on Instagram where they talk, people go, the bit you don't see is when the kids leave the house and you're there on the single parent that's not with their kids. It's something that people, I don't think, see enough. That's when you're not with your children, as you referred to, fathers that are very often not with their children much at all. That's lonely and that's painful, and we need to be saying, we all feel that, and we're doing it alone, often in a house, or wherever we might be living. And so that's why I can be talking about it, that we're on our own, sitting there scrolling through social media. Some people might be drinking too much just to kind of get through those moments of sadness and loneliness, and having the connection and conversation helps to say, we're all feeling that and you'll get through.
Do you think we're still getting there with creating social, male-friendly social avenues for men and boys?
I think there's work to be done. Like, there's a lot of lonely... I think systematically, to go back to that, so there's systems like sporting clubs and things like that. And when I talk to guys, I talk about that. I say, whether it's find an interest that you're interested in. For me, I surf a little bit. So my mates and I will go to the wave pool in Tullamarine Urban Surf. It's fun, but it's about the car trip there. It's not about it's about the catching up. So find things that you're interested in is often a way in. Like, men's sheds are awesome because men are building a park bench, but it's not about the park bench. It's you together. So find things that you're interested in. And if there's sort of one thing, I think if I was going to land it on men listening to this, there's spend time put yourself with people, whether you're lucky enough to have friends. You could say, look, could I catch up with you for a coffee and can I go to the footy? Let's go to the footy together and spend time together. So put yourself around people is sort of one thing. And the other thing that I think is just so important for people to understand is, take one step back. Your mental and physical well-being is most predetermined by the quality of your social relationships. This is why this topic that you're talking about, Rae, is so important, and why we need to be leaning in and finding places to be around people. So it's time with them, but it's also what you're talking about. And lots of men that I talk about refer to what you mentioned earlier, Rae. I don't want to talk about the stuff going on in my life because I don't want to burden anyone with whatever it might be going on. And it might be good stuff, or it might be, I'm not sleeping at the moment because I'm worried about paying the rent. And the thing is, and I've done lots of workshops on this, just trust me, anyone listening, for you to open up and say, this is what's really going on in your life. the people that you're around want that. They want to support. There is a real need. You are not a burden. It's actually what they're craving. And there's data that backs all this up that says we actually want to help people in our life. It makes us feel good.
Yeah.
So you are being a good friend by being open and saying, I'm really excited about this, but it's not all down, crack a joke. And also, I'm not sleeping at the moment because I'm worried about paying the rent. That you are being a good friend by doing that. Firstly, because it's helping them to help you and be part of your life. The converse thing, which we often don't think about, is you are basically sending your friends and the people in your life, wherever you might be, a message that you're up for talking about the real stuff.
Yeah.
So if they need to talk about the real stuff in their life, they're going to do it with you. And so that is this thing that I just get so excited about. We all have the power in us. We don't have the power to be psychologists and ask the magic question to support the people in our lives. But I have the power with you today, Rae, to talk openly about the crap that's going on in my life, which I hope draws us together and you think, I feel closer to this guy because we both talk about the real stuff. And it's not about always being sad, but that is the thing for people listening to this. It's spending time with people, but then just being genuinely open about what's going on will forge these deeper, stronger connections. And that's what helps to get us through this stuff, the good stuff and the challenging stuff.
I think the question that keeps on coming up for me as you're painting that picture is that the men that actually literally don't have friends and don't have family for many, many different reasons. And it's not easy. And I know those men because they come to see me, and I feel very grateful that I can be that person and get paid for it. That's irrespective. Sometimes I don't. But to be that professional person that holds space where a man can be really vulnerable. We talk a lot about vulnerability. And I see it, and I experience it and I watch it and I love it because I think it looks so beautiful. But I know that these men don't, not everyone plays footy, not everyone is interested in sport. And I had, I think in Australia, are we truly getting across the full social, cultural and spiritually diverse, the diversity of men who live here? Like I've heard you speak before about being a privileged white male, because you are.
Yep.
And that's a thing. But now we've got people like Dan Rapakali, who's our new envoy for men, appointed by the Prime Minister, stepping in as the new National Men's Health Envoy. He appears to be the epitome of Aussie blokey mate, have a pie and have a beer and sit down and have a yak. And he really connects strongly with those people and, really encouraging to go to the doctor, do a pee test, whatever. But do you think we're really doing enough to get across the full spectrum of Australian men? And we look at immigration and things like that. I mean, I work with Chobani. Chobani, who really embrace diversity, and they've got a very strong penchant for refugees and things like that. Down there, I think they speak about 190 different dialects, and there's about 200 different cultures down there. How a Dan would resonate down there would be crickets. Because it just would not hit the mark at all. So that was a really long... I mean, by the way, Chobani do amazing work in terms of they don't do diversity, equity and inclusion and belonging. They walk it. It's actually just there. It existed long before that became an acronym. And I love working down there because you get to immerse yourself in it and realise that it's not a decision, it's not a strategy, it is not a tick box. It is something that people really need to feel. Yeah, so you raise really good points there, right? Like there's much work to be done. But how? Like how? It's so huge that you can't cater to every single individual need, but how do you get a blanket approach that really does, I guess, embrace masculinity in its purest form and then be able to have people be more accountable for their own individual connection into that? I don't think there is a blanket silver bullet approach. I think it's a multifaceted approach to pulling these things apart. So bringing to the surface that there are these differences culturally or whatever they might be, and then so piece by piece pulling them apart. I don't think it's a blanket approach. I think, and back to what we were saying
a bit earlier that we're making great progress in being more aware of some things that, again, privileged white guy, our calendar's based around a Christian calendar. And I now think when my kids are in school, we're challenging that. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's other calendars and there's other ways of celebrating and looking at things. And so that's just one example that comes to mind as you're saying that there are other cultural systems and we're looking to put them on the agenda and become more conscious of them, then start working through what does that mean in terms of how masculinity shows up or however they might want to be socially supported. And then there's other layers to it that come to mind, like working with those communities rather than trying to have a white guy in Parliament tell them what they should be. It's working collaboratively.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Like, as you said, we have to try something. I mean, there could only be one person who was going to be the special envoy. Who was that going to be? It could have been anyone that, any individual is going to be an individual, aren't they?
Yeah.
They can't get, so I'm not dissing Dan. I'm just wondering, how that's going to be effective. And from what I can see from him, he's been very active. So, which is great.
So it's listening. So for his particular role, it's listening to different people, and then something that I think does work well is working in partnership with communities to deliver solutions rather than saying, look, we know what's required here. It's like it's that sort of collaborative working in partnership with communities to co-build solutions to whatever the challenges might be. So back to the earlier point, if we're looking at ways to foster social connection amongst a certain group of people, what does that look like for them? Rather than saying, oh, men's shed work over here, let's put a men's shed in that particular community. That might be the totally wrong thing. So coming, all right, what's the challenge we're looking to solve here, or what are we seeking to achieve together, and genuinely listening to what that community thinks is the solution to that thing.
What about the role that love plays for men in making them feel belonging and validation? Not speaking personally to you, but I'm sure you've got...
Well, it depends. Love's a big word. It depends what you mean, how you define.
Okay, well, let's not call it love. Let's call it... you coin it then, because you're going through it at the moment.
Oh, romantic love. All right. Because I think love's lots of stuff. There's I meant romantic love in that... I see this a lot in men that I'm seeing, is that they just want to be in love. They want to hold hands. They want to show and demonstrate their love to the world and show them that they're a lovable person and can give love in return. And I think that's something that we're not looking at in men that they need. We assume that men need sex and that's it. It's lovely how you say that, Rae. It's really nice, that reflection. No, not the sex bit, the bit before that. No, that'd be weird. Sorry, can I just take that back? It's like, no, the bit before. About seeing men for what they need and saying, no, it's not just about that. It's actually not. It's not, for me and from my experience. Lots of feelings and thoughts come up when you say that, Rae, because I love being like that. Like you're saying, as a man, I love giving love and
I know when I
supporting.
caught up with you at the Real Face of Men's Health launch here in Melbourne, the Movember launch, and we must have talked about relationships, and you said that you still hadn't connected with somebody yet. Yeah. And I felt this real sadness in you that you're designed to be loved and probably give love in return. Yeah. And it felt like you'd been living without that for a long, long time.
You're right, and I do love giving love and receiving. I absolutely, yes, absolutely. I'm nodding all the way. There's another thing for me in terms of the experience I've had over the last since my marriage broke down, is I needed to learn to. It sounds cliche, love myself, but I needed to learn to stand on my own 2 feet and feel like I could. And it's something I'm actually really proud of. So I had a lot of relationships earlier on in my life. And in some ways, I felt like I needed a partner almost for support. Like, the simple analogy, you walk into a party and you've got your partner next to you. Yeah. And part of my personal growth has been going, I don't need that. And that's something I'm proud of, that I can sit here today and go, I don't need a relationship for someone to walk into a room with, or that I'm ready for. I want to give that. I want to share life, but it's a different motivation. It's not like I need that. And so for me, after the split, it was important to not. For me, and everyone makes their own choices, to not dive straight back into another relationship, because I wanted to do kind of work on my stuff and feel the feelings and be ready for that next relationship. And now I'm totally obsessed with the idea of making it really healthy. You know, how do you show up and how do you keep the lines of communication open? So back to your first question. Love's so important. That's why so many songs are written about love. It's like, it's what life's about. The rest is noise, whether it's family love, friendship love. And I grew up in a high school where we never said anything kind to each other, but now my mates and I'll end a phone call every now and again. We love you, mate. Like, we want to give
and
that.
mean it.
And mean it. Yeah, we hug and say hi. And I know my friends love me for who I am, but we weren't saying that as high school boys. No way. So love's like really, really important in different versions of it. The love I have for my children, and that my daughter said to me at the dinner last night, I love you, Dad. So to get those things, that's what life's for. So I couldn't underline it more. It's so important. Yeah. And for men to be able to give and receive that love in a romantic relationship, which is the thing you're after, is just, it's just like, for me, really, really important. And I'm going to go, and sex is part of it. Yeah, for me, it's part of it. And so it's not the only, I'm not just wanting, it's how I feel connection with someone.
But it is part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
How we express.
And so that's...
Your mind just went off, and then it just went, oh.
It's just rolled back. No, but it is. I think that's part of it. For men listening, I used to kind of think, the sex thing, men only want sex, and it's sort of something to almost feel shameful about. Well, no, it's a form of connection, and it's not the only form of connection. But
it's something that women want as well. And healthy, emotionally balanced relationship, that's where sex becomes really healthy and an integral part of it. Otherwise, you'd just be friends. Yeah,
and so it's a form of the love and connection in a romantic relationship.
But it's not, I don't think it's male only purpose in a relationship.
No.
Which is how it is often portrayed.
Yeah, and again, great thing to be talking about. It's often portrayed that in media and in men. I think there's work for us all to do to go, I do long for that. But that doesn't make it bad, or it's the only thing I'm longing for. I actually just want to cuddle. I just want to sit next to someone on the couch and share the week with someone.
Yeah.
That's actually, and I guarantee, I've never been in a romantic relationship with men, but I betcha there'd be a lot of partners of men that would go, that's actually what I think he wants more than anything else, is someone to give him a hug at night or to sit on the couch. And
that's intimacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was thinking also, just as you were saying that, and it was kind of related, but differences like Rory, my 16-year-old, he's in year 11 at Box Hill High School. Call it out. Yeah. But in his friendship group, they spend a lot of time, online talking together, and I hear them because we have a pretty open household, but I'm not eavesdropping. But when something goes down in their group, especially with the guys, sometimes there might be talk of suicide, they're so not afraid of just jumping in and activating. They know what to do because we thanks to organisations like Beyond Blue and Movember, they've invested a lot of money in Pathways apps and stuff like that. They know what to do. And there's been a few instances where I go, wow, that is just, it's so normalised that when something's happening with one of their mates, it's just okay just to jump in, get parents involved, to get the school involved, and really care and love, and put a lot of attention on that person in need, rather than you're weak, get over it, or ignore it.
Yeah, it's exciting. This generation coming through is able to have those conversations better. Again, we're not there yet, but we're able to sit in it.
But schools get a lot of flack for not doing anything. Schools aren't there to raise your children, by the way. They're there to educate them. Yeah. But I think that schools, even through the resilience program or the resilience project, the Imperfects, I think I don't agree with everything about them, but I really like their tone of inclusiveness.
I really love the Imperfects for the way that they present it in normal language. They make it everyday, non-clinical kind of thing.
Did you hear the recent interview with, I can't remember his name, but he's the basketballer, who's the only basketballer in the NBL to ever have come out as being a gay man.
Yep.
And, oh, my gosh, you just, as you said, they really normalise stuff. But the way that they interview is superb and draw stories out. But I listened to that guy's story, and it was kind of what you were saying before about, you know, being raised in, you know, traditional high school where he had to really adjust and adapt himself to being somebody else in the fear that he would be found out. And he's also 7'7" or something, so he already stood out.
Yeah. And it's immense progress, isn't it? Like, is there an AFL footballer that's come out yet? Maybe, or I don't.
Yeah, there was the original guy. He was an ambassador at Beyond Blue when I was first down there. I can't really remember what his name is, but he doesn't play now. But he came out, and they had a pride. That's where the Pride match came from, I think.
Taking steps forward. So that's, again, we're getting there, but there's many that haven't yet, for fear of judgment or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I
think sport's a different place. It is a different place where it's still not permissible to come out. I mean, if you're a female in female sport, I think it's okay, maybe. But for men, definitely not. But even when we're talking about the AFL, you don't see on the front page of the Herald Sun, you know, two gay AFL players going out for dinner.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
They're not in the fashion pages together.
But for Rory, your son, with the conversations he's having with his friends when they're having difficult times, something that I think has fueled my passion for this work is I lost a couple of high school friends to suicide after school, like in not in university years, and we weren't talking about it. Like, and it really shone a light for me personally on these guys were going through really challenging times, and we just didn't have the toolkit to have that, to ask the right questions and to hold space and, you know, create those kind of places where we could talk. And so the fact that Rory and other people of that generation are able to do it, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And because we're moving forward.
But that's part of what we were saying before about the systems. You pick them apart and you readjust and you realign, because we're evolving beings. That's what we do. You know, nothing's ever going to be like it was yesterday, because we're always pushing forward for more comfort, more convenience, and that's why we create things like internets and computers and AI, and none of it's bad. It's just part of evolution. And, you know, we pretty much, you know, fuck up 80% and fix 20% at all times, really, don't we? We're fixing the mobile phone thing at the moment, those smartphones.
Yeah.
You know, see the next generations of kids coming up, like my granddaughter, you know, screens aren't a feature of her life. Pencils, pens, the park, all of that's big features. You know, the more activities that she can be connected to, that's much more of a feature than, hey, look at how she can use a mobile phone.
Yeah. It's great. As humans, we adjust and evolve. And yes.
Oh, well, these parents are terrified. They can see what it looks like down the track now. We've got the data now.
Yeah. It's been around for long enough now that we can go look at the impact of this.
Yeah.
And also see it in ourselves. That's another thing. Like, I reflect on my usage of my mobile phone, and when was the last time you didn't have your phone near you for a couple of hours? Like, it's connected to us, and we're role modelling that to our kids. So we need to think about the impact it's having on all of us.
Oh yeah, the parents go, "Oh, my kid's got a problem with phones," and they've actually got their phone in their hand at the same time.
For sure.
It's like, you know. Hey, we missed the last song break, which was pretty good. But we could have another one and then another one if you like. So here we go. The very special guest song request. Here we go. Something you won't see if there's a lot of clouds. Was it too easy?
Let me think, Rae. I reckon it might be A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay.
Yes. Now, Coldplay, they're getting a lot lot at the moment,
they
aren't
they? Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Is it with that? That's the bit that's all happening at the moment with the CEO.
They did they spotlight people in the crowd cuddling, and they outed an affair.
Now, to me, that is astounding, and I mean, I'm a constant study of the human condition. I love it. I never get tired of observing it, and I look at this and it's in every social media post.
Everywhere.
Why is it so fascinating?
I think I was chatting to someone about this yesterday. I think it's because, which I think is a healthy thing, but I'm really open to being challenged on it. It's just through my whole feed, like you said, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people are saying that's not okay what's going on with those two people. So almost being playful with, because we're celebrating the fact that that was poor behaviour from people in a privileged position. So it's a pile on, and I often don't like social media pile-ons. It's not kind, and it's like, no, that's no good. But what feels a little bit better to me of this pile-on is we're piling on and say, no, that behaviour is no good. You're treating your partners badly, and people are having a laugh.
Do you know who I think about in that? Are there children who are of these relationships that are being caught up in this? That's what I think about.
Yeah, you're right. And I thought about their partners have had their relationship blown up on a global scale.
Yeah.
So there's unquestionably the collateral damage.
And if they weren't of that status, and if it wasn't that interesting because of their positions, there are more than those people doing that in the world. So I think we've got just better things to do with our life, I think.
Yeah, you're right. So there is this collateral damage of the pile-on, and yeah, and I do think, actually, to underline that point, I must admit I've been enjoying this sort of thing, memeing going around, but I do think this social pile-on is out of control, even to the point, I know I've got to get to the song, where as someone will be outed for whatever it is, let's say they're taking drugs or whatever it is, and then there'll be this pile-on on them, and everyone else goes quiet. It's like, hang on a minute, you've all been doing it, and just this person's been hit, where that is an opportunity for us all to go, well, hang on a minute, like who hasn't had, like how many office affairs are there going on out there?
That's right.
And so just owning that, we all point the finger at that person and back away into the shadows quietly.
Oh, George Columbaris, and the whole wage thing, that was one of those great examples of the big pile-on that, people didn't know at the time. I mean, he employed a lot of people on visas from other countries who were here for safety.
Yeah.
When all that happened, they all had to go back. So all of those people that boycotted his restaurant and set him up and for failure didn't realise that hundreds and hundreds of people had to go back to unsafe countries.
Yeah. And again, it's a great thing to talk about. It shows the complexity in this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about your behaviour. Just don't be an asshole. Just shut up. Anyway, back to Coldplay.
Back to the joyful song by Coldplay.
Now, because I haven't got my glasses, I have to make sure I'm on it. It is a sky full of stars. And when we come back, we're basically going to have to wrap the show.
Oh, wow. That's gone quick.
Yeah. We'll be right back. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC. Welcome back. The time is 35 minutes past 11 and you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, and with me is Jeremy MacVean, co-creator of the Fatherhood and advocate for men's wellbeing and parenting evolution. There's another one for you.
I'll go with that.
How would you describe yourself?
I might ask ChatGPT. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because it's evolved. Like, it's gone from men's health advocate to I now talk more about gender equity.
Yes.
So gender equity workplace consultants or something like that. Like I'm that, and I'm also a marketer. So at the base of it is communication. So I can give you a long answer, but I'm about communication. Is I think the weapon of choice, the tool is communicating about these things effectively.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm now going after gender equity for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yep, no, I think that pretty much encapsulates it. But it is another departure of people to get their head around, so then how does that involve men? Well, it does. But it's a mind shift, isn't it, to say, well, it also includes women. But then if you're about fathers, then how are you about women at the same time?
Yeah.
We're still getting our head around that you can be everything to everyone but have a particular, voice for something.
And some evidence of that again has inspired me and fueled the change in thinking is the Fatherhood has a Facebook page. We're not active on it now.
Yeah.
Followership to that was even, if not more, tilting towards women.
Yes.
Going, yes, you guys, this is great. Like, this is good for me that he's involved, and I love my partner, and I want people to talk about the great things that he's doing. And so, that was it's happening out there around us. We're not the only people that are thinking, right, this is all of us working together. Some people don't quite get it yet.
No. Well, some people aren't thinking about it at all because they're thinking about other things like, I don't know, some people are just very focused on their family or their job as an accountant or... and that's okay because it takes all of us to make something happen. I wouldn't want 10 of me in a room. That would, oh, my God. I mean, Rory said to me the other day, he goes, why aren't you a game show host? You never show up.
Yeah, you're a good chatter.
He said, you're a very interesting woman.
That's good. Interesting is good.
I took it as a compliment.
I would for sure.
If you were looking forward into the future, how do you see DEIB space evolving and in the context of the experience for men, if that's not too broad of a question?
I see it improving. I really do. Rapidly. So COVID was, and again, COVID's happened since you and I have been in the studio together. It's amazing. Like, just look back and think.
We've never even given it to each other.
You could have. Who knows?
We could be today. I don't know. I'm feeling all right at the moment.
Still kicking around. Oh, yeah, you don't want to have the flu a couple of weeks ago. I'll give you a hot tip. You don't want that. That's anyway. Back to the question. So COVID was an unbelievable thing for us to live through. I think, though, when it comes to workplace equity, and it fast forwarded us 20 or 30 years in 2 or 3 years kind of time period, because now you can work flexibly and no one cares. You can turn up to a workplace at 10 o'clock and no one bats an eyelid. You'll be working at home on a Friday, no one bats an eyelid. It is the norm. So think how far that has pushed us forward in terms of this fathers being able to show up as their full selves in a workplace context and not be this kind of robot provider that doesn't have a family at home that we try and kind of hide. So, yeah, we've gone light years in a really short period of time, and that has lit a flame. The spark's there, and I think it's going to continue to move. My fear is, when I say that, so I'm not all kind of rosy, that there could be a backlash. There could be kind of a pushback to kind of safety and normality, where, to use a sort of a simple version, we're going to go back to the workplace. No, this flexible work thing's rubbish. We know you must come into the office. And that will be harmful. That kind of thinking will be harmful. So that could be restrictive. But
it's very sum-zero thinking, isn't it? As we often do. It's like we either be flexible or not. But then in my mind, if you redesign the onboarding experience, into an organisation, that's where we can ask questions about what do you need to fulfil the obligations of your role. Well, I coach, netball on a Wednesday, so I need to leave at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Yep.
On Fridays, I like to work from home because that allows me to, be more productive, whatever it might be. And I go, okay, Jeremy, I will pay you X amount of money to fulfill the obligations of your role, and yes, I agree to that.
Yep.
Right from the get-go.
Yep.
If you're a front-facing customer service person, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get flexibility on that. You can't do that from home.
Yeah.
But that's a choice when we go into a job, what we need to do to fulfill the obligations of the role.
Yes.
So I think that we will move away from this very hard and fast, we want everyone back in the workplace, to who do we need in the workplace, and how do we make people more productive and safe, which is the key, isn't it? Because safety does build productivity.
It does. And you've touched on, I think, a really important point, that there's structural things that are happening, like paid parental leave is much more available, flexible work where it can be provided is much more available. But the work that I do when I go and do presentations in organisations, it's usually addressing culture stuff. So making it safe, to use your term, that's exactly it, to make it safe for men to leave, anyone to leave early, not to any carer of anyone to not work on a bit. I'll be in the office on a Thursday, whatever it is. It's the culture stuff that's the problem. So often organisations will come to me and say, Jeremy, we've put this awesome new paid parental leave scheme in, or whatever it will be. And in my case, dads aren't taking it.
Yep.
Can you help us with that? Because it's one generation. It's like a short amount of time. An enormous amount has changed, and they don't feel it's culturally safe. So we need to, again, be exactly what you're saying in the onboarding process, be saying it is an expectation when you work at this place that this is how we roll. Senior leaders need to be role modelling it. It needs to become, because we are fighting against pre-programmed stuff that's in our genes from what we've picked up in the world around us of certain ways that genders act, and we have to push against it. And that's about making it safe.
Well, that's right. And then you look at industries where I hang out in mostly male workplaces, so construction, manufacturing, mining, shipping, transport, logistics. Those roles actually don't invite flexibility. In fact, they invite a lot of discretionary hours. So it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah. And I think that's where I do a lot of work, and that's where so much change has to happen, because it directly has an impact not only on men's health but on families, through a whole range of things. It's very difficult. I mean, you look at the big build in Victoria at the moment, gazillion dollars behind budget, and behind time. So the pressure to deliver projects is extraordinary. Where's the flexibility in that for the people that are working in those projects? That's men and women, but primarily that's men occupy most of those roles.
And it's important to talk about that, because that's the broader structure. And again, this is an uncomfortable thing, but I'm going to say it. So we're working towards men working flexibly or taking paid parental leave. It's a pain in the bum. It is an absolute pain in the bum. So if you're a CEO of an organisation, you're behind budget, I don't want them working flexibly. I need them back at the desk, thank you very much.
Yes.
And people aren't saying that because it's an inconvenient truth, but that's the facts that we're swimming against.
If you've got budgets tied to your funding, the government's funded this project and you've got to deliver that budget, then you can't have people out of that, because people aren't people anymore, they're resources. And when a resource isn't there, there's a gap. And that means that's time's money, money's mime, to quote Spinal Tap.
Excellent source.
For any of those under the age of, or over the age of 50.
Absolutely. And so that's why these sort of structural systems need to be addressed, right? Because in that instance, you are not going to go, we need to have flexibility and we need to be looking after the well-being of the families of the people we employ. I've got a budget to hit.
That's right. And the taxpayers aren't going to be happy if they've got to pay, $10 tolls every time they drive on this road. Yeah.
And so one thing I do talk about is equal provision of paid parental leave, and that could easily be construed as being kind of fighting for men's rights, that men need paid parental leave. That's not the point. It's if it's equal for the person regardless of gender. The boss doesn't have a gender trade-off on who they employ, because they're both equally, frankly, annoying to employ, because I've got my budget to hit, but they both have the equal access, or I've got to backfill their role and I've got to pay them a certain amount of paid parental leave. That needs to be equal, in this case, for the benefit of women to attack glass ceilings, because the structure will be businesses are businesses. And they're not going to be handing out parental leave, unless they have to.
But the more you build equity in workplaces, then you can go back and have that discussion, who puts the bins out, and, who's the primary breadwinner. And those people can, dedicate more time to occupation if that's chosen. But you said before, about men's rights, and, I had a bit of a mind shift about that. Working with clients in private practice really helped me arrive at, it's not rights that men need, because men have all the rights, really. It's responsibility. So I look at, that scenario of men who aren't, who've been, alienated from their children, or, have had their access to their children really, really reduced. They're looking for responsibility. They want the responsibility of raising their children, caring for their children, being with their children, and protecting their children. That's not rights. So I thought that was such a mind shift in my head, that that's what men are really wanting in those situations. They want to assume the responsibility. They're not looking for rights. They already have them.
Oh, it's interesting. It's a really nice reframing, isn't it? It's and again, the responsibility to share the load is a really different tone to fighting for our rights. And anyone in any of these conversations, when the tone becomes that singular one group fighting for rights, I don't think it's constructive for any group in any context. No. I love that language shift. Yeah.
Because I was getting more and more uncomfortable how I was presenting some of my kind of challenging conversations around why we should be doing better for men and boys. It's not. It was uncomfortable for it to be about rights, and more linking into your way of thinking and attitude of it's everyone's issue. It's an inclusive thing, that we want to be responsible, and that, I think, it's just a different way of looking at it.
Because in the work that you're doing with men and young men and boys, particularly, that is building a better world for everyone around them, and so them having the responsibility to show up in a certain way and taking on that responsibility to support those people around them, taking the responsibility to be more open or better partners for their people they're forming relationships with.
If I had my way, I would put all the funding that's going towards, upstream here and get downstream wherever, but put it all into, not all, but a lot of it into helping families raise children. So dumping a ton of money on new families who are raising small kids to give them access to programs like music programs, sport programs that are free. Not, I mean, how much do you pay for a netball kit and then subs and things like that?
Yeah.
Putting money into that and putting money into reduced childcare, to lots of different community-free stuff that kids can grow and develop and be nurtured, where parents aren't feeling this enormous pressure of having to be in the workplace to make ends meet, just so they can give their kids extra things like sport. I think, that was probably very... I ran out of words. That's the end of the show.
You're out. It's tapped out. Yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? Because I've been talking. It does. Yeah, it's where we're doing a generational change. So there's this thing where you've got to be creating an environment for these children to grow up in and build it, and it's going to take some time.
We just have this fix-it mentality though for everything.
Yeah, that's it. And one challenge with the political system is they're not thinking 10 years ahead, they're thinking for their tenure, so investing in things that are going to have a immediate impact now that I can point to.
Let's fix mental health.
Yeah, let's fix it right now.
Yep.
Because unfortunately these problems are far more complex and take much more time. And you've touched on there something that we've got dual income, it's a cost of living's really, really high, and so people are out there struggling to pay the rent, and so that's another really important thing to add to the mix. Is there are these tensions within families. I've just been through school holidays, and the amount of parents, working parents, are how does this work? How does and it's tough. As a generation ago, you probably have more often than not a primary carer that's sort of looking after the kids at home. Not anymore. So there are these real challenges right now of dual income families trying to raise their kids, trying to be present.
Yeah.
It's a pressure cooker.
Do you know what I think it would be a really good program for school holidays, especially for, secondary aged kids, is bring your child to work and have them learn something, And I know that opens up a whole OH&S, WHS kind of issue as well, but it could be done. It's doable.
Yeah.
Rory goes to work with either me or his dad and learns something. My other kids did as well, always came to work with me.
It's good to hear.
And they all the best. Well, my kids are the best. Everyone knows that.
Sure,
that listens to this show. Sorry about your kids.
Yeah, really? We're going to do that, are we? Okay, I'll take a kid off.
Now, on that, I just need to say that if any of the themes and topics discussed here today have brought up uncomfortable feelings for you, please remember help is always available. A few options here. Lifeline 131114 is a great place to go to get any resource that you need. 000 if that needs to be the thing. But speaking of gratitude and wonderful things, coming up next is the Divine Paula Hogg rolling out an entire lazy Sunday afternoon of music and banter, which is always bound to get you pretty relaxed. She's great. She's got some really, really awesome music. And she uses CDs, doesn't she? She's still very old school. Mm-hmm. So, she's great. Coming up next on the show, though, next month on the 17th of August, I have the amazing Anna Faringa. I don't know if you've come across Anna. She is a global top 10 health and safety influencer on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. She's a top voice. Actually, she's an influencer. LinkedIn, she's a top voice in workplace mental health and a powerhouse in driving cultural change. And look, I've been fangirling her for quite a few years, but we actually met recently at the Self-Insurers Association Victoria conference where we were both speaking. And, she's very out there. We had a very bold conversation and she was everything that I imagined. So we're going to, I'm sure...
That sounds great.
It's going to be a very unfiltered conversation about health, safety, wellbeing, psychosocial hazards and risks. So probably getting down a bit into the legislative stuff around what are organisations' obligations to their employees, but also, importantly, what is your obligation as an employee in an organisation? You talk about flexibility, workplace flexibility. That's not just on an employer to enable that. It's the employee's responsibility to respect it and manage that in a way that they are still, as I said before, fulfilling the obligations of their role. It's not a nice to have thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's going to be able to support and enable you to do your job.
Yeah, it is absolutely. It's a two-way street for sure.
Yeah, because I don't buy this like it's my right to have now a flexible week and I should only have to come into the office, one day. It was a pandemic. It wasn't a workplace legislation change.
Yeah. And it's dependent on the role. There's much more complexity to the organisation, to the role in that organisation. There's much more to it than that.
And I think, collaboration, that's why I love radio, because it's face-to-face, it's very tangible. Human beings, we're chemical beings.
Yeah.
We need to be together. We need to be interacting together. That's why we don't have virtual romantic relationships, because they just wouldn't work, would they?
No.
Imagine... No. Okay, I'm not going there.
Well, these AI agents are popping up now. That's a whole other thing.
I was thinking of getting an AI boyfriend.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I wonder what that would be like.
I could make that work.
We can tell them what to say, how to look, what to do. It's like,
exactly. Especially when you're time poor and, the only time you've got is probably 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. I don't think that's a good starting point to AI or real relationship is someone doing everything you want. So maybe you need a bit of pushback.
No. How are you going in your new relationship?
It's going very well, thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Have you sort of come up against anything you go, I have to adapt to myself, or?
No, if anything, the main thing, it's going really well, thanks. We're 4 or 5 months in now. The thing that I'm coming up against forming a relationship as an older person, you've lived. So you've both lived a life, and everyone comes with their stuff in any relationship from your upbringing, but it's not a naive love. It's you've both got your battle scars, and so I think you both bring that which I think is really healthy and beautiful in lots of ways, because you're showing up genuinely going, no, I want to share my life with someone, and I think I want that to be you. So let's just work our way through that.
But you've got that flexibility, haven't you? I think that could be you. It doesn't have to be though.
No, that's it. And so
what have you got to lose?
Yeah. And so I want to be with someone. Do you want to be with someone? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So can we make it work? The thing I'm watching in myself is potential. I do have a tendency to overthink and wanting to create, because again, you've lived now, but you look back and go, what seemed like small things ended up being significantly bigger things that weren't great in previous relationships. How do we keep an eye on that and set up really healthy habits and things that seem small that can become bigger? So that's something that I'm thinking about a lot, trying to not overthink, trying to just enjoy the moment of spending time with someone. But how do we communicate well about, and how do we lean into the uncomfortable stuff and all that stuff we've talked about today, and how do I show up in that way?
But I think the amazing thing that you've done, and that any men, women listening in who wanted to take any advice, is the work that you did on yourself, and you took time. You took a lot of time to do that, and you were very thoughtful and conscious about what you wanted to do for yourself, not for somebody else.
Yeah, for myself, and so I could be a better partner for somebody else when the time came. And I'm far from...
What do your girls say about you as a dad?
Oh, they've only known one, so
no,
I'll
but
take it.
Do they So Rory calls me a very interesting woman. George once called me. He was being interviewed on a podcast, and I listened to it. They said, "Oh, so tell me about your mum." And he goes, "She's a very large woman. So she's a very large figure." But he was trying to say that I'm important, but he couldn't get the word. But so we have this joke in the family that I'm just very large.
Right. It's not the word that comes to mind when I think of you, but okay. But I think I know what he was saying. Well, I had my mum's 80th birthday last night. We're all there together, and the theme of my girls, I think they were saying he just needs to grow up, because I try to be playful with them, and so they're having their ice cream sundaes from the kiddie meal, and I just want what they want. I don't want the desserts, the adult desserts. And so I think my kids would say I'm playful and fun and lots of other things, but something, I think if they were sitting in the chair next to me, they'd say something like that. They'd tease me a little bit about being silly. What
would you want them to say about you? Just say you were listening into a conversation that they were having down the track when they're in their 30s. What would you like them to say about you?
It's a beautiful question. Thanks, Rae, for asking it. I would love them to say my dad's there for me no matter what. And so I can talk to him about anything. So I'm trying to respect their boundaries. It's balance. Trying to respect their boundaries. They need to have their own space as they're becoming teenagers and moving through that phase of life to experiment and do their thing. And I don't need to be reading their diary. You know, I don't need to be in every conversation. They need space. But I want them to know that no matter what happens in their life, they can come and talk to me about it. So I try and talk about things that I've stuffed up and mistakes that I say to them, trust me, guys, if you make a mistake or you do something stupid at a party, I guarantee I've done something more stupid. So just I'm not going to, and then they're like, what'd you do? I'm not going to tell you that. But so I would love to, I'm trying to set up a space where if they have a challenge, if they've done something silly or whatever, I'd love to overhear them say, I could talk to my dad about that.
Yeah. Because you do hear a lot of those conversations. I don't know how to talk to my parents. I don't know. I would never tell my parents that. You know, they're not that kind of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's very old school traditional parenting. But I think just from my final comment today, I think what I've really gotten out of today is just how we are moving and thawing out and creating space, not time for people. It's a really big difference, isn't it?
Yep.
Time is like, I've got 5 minutes for you, tell me what's going on. Space is that feeling of just being able to run around for a bit before you land on the spot you need to be.
Yeah, and so being present and all that sort of stuff is really important, the quality of connection.
But we are governed by time today.
Oh, okay, we're out. Okay, it's been great, bye.
Well, in fact, Paula's not here yet, but we should wrap in the event that she does turn up. So I do want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's a big effort on a Sunday morning to get up and get out, but what you bring, and I've again known you for a long time. We don't see each other all the time, but we do, and I know you're there, and I know that you're always well, you're not a phone call away because I don't have your phone. I don't know why I don't have your phone number in my phone. Yeah, okay. We need to fix that. But what you bring is just something so amazing and beautiful to the space. And thank you for all the work that you've done that has undoubtedly saved many lives.
Thanks, Rae. And I was really excited to come in here because we haven't chatted for a while. It's like genuinely I was thinking, it's chatting with Rae, but there's a couple of mics on today, but just having a chat and spending some time together. And you've thanked me, and I just, on behalf of your listeners and everything you do, I want to thank you for turning up and hosting. That's the hard job. The easy job's answering the questions, I think. You've got to think through questions for your guests on this show and turn up regularly. I turn up one day. You turn up regularly for your people in your life and the people that you support and the listeners of this show. And I think on behalf of all of them, I want to thank you and take that time to really put the spotlight on everything you do. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. That's a really nice way to go out. Now we do have one special guest song request to go. Now there's only one left, so it's not going to be.
Let me think.
But I've got a clue, and the clue is, okay, the least favourite jelly beans and an iconic American sandwich.
All righty. So it's Black Balloon is the song by a band called the Rubens. And I picked this because it music connects us, and it's a favourite song of my daughter's. So I just love the song because we listen to it together.
Well, before we play it, for anyone wanting to connect with you, where do they go?
I'll give you my email address. So it's obviously LinkedIn we've talked about. I'm there a lot. Or there's jeremy@radiate.com.au is the email address to get me on.
Easy. Jeremy MacVean, not Mac. Now, there's a lot of noise coming in, isn't there? Yeah, that's interesting. But before I go, I just wanted to say to everyone, remember, be kind, be caring. Don't be an arsehole. It kills people. No truer word. See ya.
See ya. Thanks.